My wife and her lover tried to take everything, but I was one step ahead. You know those stories where the guy says, "I never thought it would happen to me"? Yeah, I used to laugh at those. 12 years. That's how long I thought I was in a loving, stable marriage. We met in college. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room, and I was the guy who thought I'd won the lottery. Our first place was a cramped one-bedroom with peeling paint and a heater that worked only when it felt like it. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes coming home at midnight just to grab a shower and collapse into bed. She'd be waiting, with food, a smile, and a kiss. Or so I thought. Fast forward a decade, we had a nice house in the suburbs, a joint savings account, 2 cars, and what I thought was a strong marriage. She worked part-time, mostly handling things at home, while I covered the bills. I never complained. I believed in us. But small cracks started to appear. It began with her phone. At first, it was always lying on the counter or coffee table. Then, suddenly, it was glued to her hand. Notifications silenced, always face down. "New work policy," she said with a laugh when I asked. She didn't work in national security. She worked at a spa. Then came the girls' nights. At first, it was once every few months. I'd even encourage her to go. But now it was every week, sometimes twice. Always dressed up, always smelling like the perfume I knew I liked. But she'd come home late, smelling like cologne. I wanted to believe her. God knows I tried. I told myself I was imagining things. Until one night. It was a Thursday. I got home early from work, stomach aching from skipping lunch, and headed straight for the kitchen. She didn't hear me. She was on the phone, speaking in that low, careful tone people use when they don't want to be overheard. I know. Just a little longer. He won't see it coming. Once the papers are signed, the house is ours. Everything will be ours. I froze. Ours? The ours wasn't me. My gut told me exactly who it was. I stepped back into the hallway, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. She ended the call and hummed to herself, as if she hadn't just shattered the reality I lived in. That night, I barely slept. I lay there, her back to me, while my mind replayed her words again and again. The next morning, I put my game face on. If she thought I was blind, I would let her keep thinking it, for now. I started small. While she was in the shower, I checked her purse. Nothing. But her phone was in there, locked, of course. I couldn't guess the passcode without making her suspicious, so I went deeper. I remembered an old tablet we barely used. It was still linked to her email. I charged it, opened it up, and there it was. Dozens of messages to a contact saved only as A. A. You sure this will work? Her. Trust me, he'll believe whatever I tell him. Once I file, he'll fold. He's too soft for a fight. A. And the account? Her. Already working on it. He's not as smart as he thinks. The irony almost made me laugh. When I got home that night, she greeted me with a kiss and asked if I wanted dinner. I said I'd grab something later. I wanted her to think nothing had changed, but everything had. Because while she was busy planning my downfall, I was already 3 moves ahead. The day after I heard them together, I called my sister. She's the only person I truly trust. I told her everything, the affair, plan to take the house and money. She didn't hesitate. Transfer everything, now. Don't wait until she makes her move. Over the next week, I met with a lawyer I'd worked with years ago when I bought the house. We drew up a trust in my sister's name. The house was transferred, the savings split into separate accounts she couldn't touch, and even my retirement fund was shielded. It wasn't easy. I had to make it all look like routine financial planning, not like I was preparing for war. but I made sure every paper was signed, notarized, and locked away before she even smelled a hint of trouble. Meanwhile, she kept playing her role. Dinners together, weekend trips to visit her mom, late-night texting. I even overheard her talking to him again. He's so oblivious. By the time he figures it out, we'll already be in the house together. I'll redecorate first thing. She was talking about my living room, my kitchen, my bedroom. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was pretending I didn't know. 3 weeks later, the trap snapped shut. I came home from work and found her sitting at the dining table with a folder in front of her. Inside, divorce papers. She had this fake look of concern, like she was the victim in all this. "I think it's time we go our separate ways," she said softly. I don't think we're happy anymore." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I knew what she really wanted. I nodded slowly. "If that's what you want." She relaxed, thinking I had given up without a fight. She slid the papers over, probably already picturing herself moving in with him.
The next few weeks were a performance. She talked about amicable separation, but I could see the greed in her eyes. She filed claims for half the savings, the house, and even part of my retirement. Her lawyer sent the list over like it was a done deal. That's when I let my lawyer respond. It didn't take long for the confusion to hit her. Her lawyer called her in, and from my end of the hallway, I could hear raised voices. The house? Not mine. Legally owned by my sister's trust. The savings? Already withdrawn and moved. The retirement account? Untouchable, under the trust. She stormed into my place later that night. "What the hell did you do?" I looked her straight in the eye. "I made sure you'd get exactly what you deserve." Her face went pale. She sputtered something about being in this together and how could you... But I just walked into the kitchen and poured myself a drink. The next day, I heard from a mutual friend that her lover had dumped her. Apparently, he wasn't thrilled about the fact that she brought nothing to the table but debt and a ruined reputation. Within a month, she was living in a one-bedroom apartment on the other side of town, working extra shifts to pay rent. I still live in my house, still have my savings, and most importantly, I have my peace.
Betrayal cuts deep. Silence breaks the family. Subscribe. Don't face the dark alone.